Hello and welcome to Price Sell Paint. Today we have a very interesting discussion with Mark Glinskiy from Legacy Painting in Seattle. Mark is not a PaintScout user, and Mark has a lot of questions about what this program is about, how it can impact his business, and how it can take things to the next level. Mark has some interesting questions, and we are going to answer them all. Join us for the next hour as we dig into it.
Welcome to Price Sell Paint, the go-to podcast for painting contractors and sales professionals in the painting industry. Hosted by industry experts John Bryant and Michael Murray. This podcast is proudly powered by PaintScout, your partner in painting success.
All right, everybody, welcome to Price Sell Paint. We have a very interesting opportunity here today to talk with Mark from Legacy Painting. And Mark is looking at software to implement for his painting business. And he is not a PaintScout customer. So he's got a lot of great questions, a lot of just deep thinking that's going into this process of trying to select something and make the best decision for his company. So we get to dig into some of these questions, talk about the why, talk about the how. And yeah, Mark, you want to tell everyone who you are, where you're from, what you do?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me on, John. Appreciate it. My name is Mark. I own and run Legacy Painting out of the greater part of Seattle, Washington. Beautiful state. We finally are getting sunshine and it feels like spring and summer, so I'm super excited for it. Painting exteriors now, which is good.
Super rare in Seattle. I lived there for 6 months, Mark, and there was
really?
one day of sun. Yeah, one
no
day
way.
In 6 months. Yeah, 100%.
Oh, I'm sorry for that. There's actually more than that, but actually last year was probably like the record of consecutive non-rainy days, and it was incredible.
Yeah, it's a great city, one of my favorites in the world.
Yeah, but cool. Yeah, so I run a painting company here. It has its challenges because you could only paint about 7 months out of the year exteriors, maybe 8 if you really push the limits. The rest is interior. Currently operating with one sales guy, one project manager, some admin staff, and myself. I like to be part of many aspects of my company. I come from a big background of actually painting, been in the construction trade since I was 13 years old. I come from Belarus, right above Russia. Mm-hmm. So in our culture, turn 12 years old, you naturally have the desire to work. That's just how, at least that's how I've been in my family. So I just kind of went at it. Thought I would go into, I got my associate's degree, got into University of Washington to get my bachelor's, and went into one quarter through the university. And I was like, this is not for me.
So that led you to painting, I'm going to guess.
Yeah, it led me to more full-time painting through that. It did. And then also wanted to get married, and school's a little bit in the way. And I was like, I could just start making money and I can make it work. And that's what I did. So I started painting full-time and then started a company shortly afterwards. I was not Legacy. I worked as a subcontractor for a few other companies, had a little bit of my own clientele, and then decided to kind of close that one down and just kind of start fresh. New business model, new name, new image, new reputation, and so forth. So
how long have you been doing it now?
Legacy is 4 years old now.
4 years old. Awesome. And you've managed to get a sales rep involved. That's impressive. Second one you said coming next week.
Yeah.
So you guys do residential, commercial, or what's kind of the breakdown there?
We right now 80% residential, 20% commercial.
Cool. Yeah, nice breakdown. Mm-hmm. And are you running with a sub model or employee model, or how do you
full sub model? I started as a sub model because I've previously worked as a sub, as a painter, and I saw what worked, what didn't work, what improvements I can make, because I got sick and tired of being a sub, and I was like, I hate this. This company I'm doing half the work for this company of management. And so that's when I just got tired of it and wanted to start my own.
Cool. So yeah, Michael and I are here today to answer the tough questions you've got regarding sales software. And I think you said, currently, how are you doing things?
On the sales side, it's a lot of just custom building. Like my estimate templates are from just, what is it called? The pages on MacBooks, right? On an Apple computer. And we have a whole template. It's like three pages, very detail oriented, but it takes time to build an estimate. There's no like, oh, here's a customer's information plugged into the CRM and gets auto-populated into the estimate template. It doesn't. So you have to plug in the name, the email address, the date, everything like that. So I don't have any automation when it comes to that. As far as sending out the quote and following up, I actually currently, through this whole time, don't have any automated follow-up. I don't think it has hurt me too much because my landing ratio is just above 50%. We're definitely running multiple $1 million a year, so it works for us. But I see that there's room for improvement, and so there's no automation really. It's within 2 days, follow up with an email or a phone call to a customer. They don't answer, send a text as well. 5 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. That's our process, but a lot of hands-on, no automation with that, which is what I'm missing. Truly.
Congratulations on getting to this point.
Thank you.
That's a lot. That's a lot of. I know the pain because I was there too. I know, Michael, you've been there too.
Yeah, no, I mean, I appreciate your taking the time to hang out with us and sharing your story, and excited to kind of explore PaintScout as a potential option for you. And I know we met you at the PCA Expo down in Orlando, and it was awesome just to chat down there, and excited to dive in a little bit more. So let's get into it.
Yeah, sweet.
So from your perspective, from what you've been doing and kind of evaluating your options, ask us a couple of your tough questions. What are you thinking?
Yeah. So I think I've done a demo with you guys like over a year ago. And I thought PaintScout was going to be an all-in-one. Sales, project management, completion, everything. And then I hopped on a meeting, and I think I cut the meeting short within like 5-10 minutes into it. Be like, oh, this isn't for me. I'm out. I kept thinking, and like whoever's watching, if you think there's going to be 100% perfect all-in-one solution for your company, there won't be. I'm sorry, but there just won't be. I know there's some great companies out there. I won't name them, but I've tried them and they don't work for me because of how I run my company, how I like my systems and my processes to go. So after talking with many people over this last, half a year, I've really kind of branched out and just been connecting with people, went to the expo and, met Michael and Jon, incredible human beings. And then I understood that bigger companies, they don't use an all-in-one software. They can use 2 to 3 to 4 systems or programs that just connect together, integrate together very well. But each one now is operating at 100%. And that's it. And so once I knew that, I was like, all right, let me go back to PaintScout, because I think they're the solution for me to keep good track of my sales, of my estimates, close ratios, which I track myself in a custom spreadsheet. It's not hard, but having it in a program is really cool. But as for questions, Jon, I know I exploded you earlier with a lot of questions. You're like, hold up, save those questions.
That's why we're doing this call, man. They're good questions.
Yeah. So I guess my big thing is, Jon, you were saying that you also use Zendesk for your company. And oddly enough, I do too. And I've never met another construction company that uses that platform. I do use it a little differently than you, though, because I use it for project management and not sales management. So for me, what I kind of, my biggest question for you was going to ask, Jon, how do you operate Zendesk with PaintScout? And once that job is landed, what does that look like? What's that process look like of uploading, customer information? What comes out, through PaintScout? How do you do the estimate? How customizable is that estimate template? And kind of if you could walk me through what that process looks like, because I know you have Zapier integrations within that, which is really cool. Having those triggers. And so I'd love to get a good understanding, because say for me, I stretched out my decision to go with PaintScout. By the way, I'm not a PaintScout customer yet. Hire another salesperson this next Monday. So I need a system over this weekend, and I need to set it up. So
today is the day.
Today's the day.
Hard sell at the end of this call.
Jon, sell me. Yeah. Show me why I need this, basically, and show all the viewers.
Okay. So I want to start, I want to throw it over to you, Michael, because I think you have a better perspective on that all-in-one approach than I do, because I've always gone with like a multiple of different things. And so I think, just to talk to Mark's point, where did you end up landing here? in terms of this whole
Yeah.
discussion?
Yeah, so I think I was going to make a joke. I think this, it's a good podcast because we get to see Jon sell and we get to learn about PaintScout. So there's like some super cool benefits here.
Win-win.
Yeah. But so yeah, I can share. I mean, my experience, shared it a little bit in some of the episodes and chats and stuff. So I became a PaintScout customer at the very beginning of 2021. And so before that, for probably 4 to 6 years, I don't remember exactly, we were using a different software that's very popular in industry. It's, whatever, I'll just share it. We were using Estimate Rocket, and Estimate Rocket is a good software. But the reason that we made the change was what had happened. So Estimate Rocket is a good, like, all-in-one option. I would describe it as, like, within our industry, it's probably the best all-in-one option. But what happened was that as we were growing as a company, the problem with any all-in-one solution is that there's inherently compromises that have to be made within software to get it to do more things, just based on probably like practical, budget constraints, right? You can't put all your developers' time into, each piece of the software when you've got 10 different things that it's trying to accomplish or whatever that is. And so over the time, as we were using Estimate Rocket, we continually found ourselves like going out and finding another piece, right? So we would have, a different like timekeeping solution and, eventually different CRM solution. And so eventually we got to the point where really all Estimate Rocket was doing for us was like creating a quote and sending that bid. And then when I found out about PaintScout and met Jon and, learned about that, I realized that we weren't using the best one for that specific piece. The analogy that I use, I feel like resonates the most is like these all-in-one softwares are basically like a paint and primer in one. And there's a time and a place for that. There's nothing inherently wrong with it, but it is not the best primer and it's not the best paint. And at some point, as a company grows, similar to, doing a painting project, like at some point in certain types of projects, you're not willing to make the sacrifices that come with a paint and primer in one, and you require the absolute best primer and the absolute best paint. And yes, it takes a little more effort, a little more, cleanup if you want to, keep maybe using that analogy. But, we realized that sacrifice of like having to set up some of those automations and use Zapier and maybe pay somebody to help us to get the systems to work really well together was well worth it in the ability to scale and have systems that were going to scale with us and not make some of those core sacrifices. And it's been, Mark, I shared it with you, like our numbers have increased significantly. It's just like our, pricing and selling like aspect of, what we're doing now that we use PaintScout is so much better. It's so much easier for us to train sales reps, give, accurate pricing and see our numbers and, make changes and higher win rates and things like that. So that's a little bit of my own experience. Again, I think Estimate Rocket, for example, serves an awesome purpose in our industry. I think it's great software. But as from my own experience, is we got to the point where we outgrew a little bit and needed something that was, a little bit more best in class in that one, or like limited specific piece of what we were looking for.
Yeah. So I think that's way better than I can explain it. And I think you've kind of come around to that idea, which is important, right? Like an all-in-one is like at a certain level, that's going to function super well. And we need to acknowledge that's a great choice. But I can tell you a bit about my story and why this product exists, Mark, and Zendesk Sell, I'll tie it in because I think it's really important. We had a painting business, kind of late 2000s. And it was really just a chance to try business for me. And anyways, at a certain level, after a couple of years, we got to a point where the process that I went through is I had a spreadsheet. I put all that information into a Pages document, just like you do. And I emailed that to the customer. That process, once I started to time myself, took over 2 hours. meeting with the customer, coming back to my own home, typing in the stuff. I like my things to be really nice and look good. I probably took too much time on that end to be like typing it all in. I don't know how long it takes you, but I started to get I got bogged down. I was generating a lot of leads and I couldn't do 4 estimates a day. It just was impossible for my life. Mm-hmm. And then I didn't know how to pass that job off. And so PaintScout came from this need to combine that stuff, which was that I needed to get laser focused on sales, but I already had a program that I used for scheduling because I wasn't trying to use an all-in-one to begin with. And so that's where I felt like it was the biggest issue in my life was pricing and selling paint jobs quickly. And that was going to drive my business. And so I spent all this time designing this product. For those, who wonder about software, it's not as easy as you might think. I don't recommend it to my worst enemy, design a software program. I was
thinking that was going to be for my next step for business. And then I got talked out of it real quick.
Yeah, it's a wild journey. Anyways, Zendesk.
I tried to do that once. We tried to design software. We spent after about $40,000 and many months of frustration with absolutely nothing to show for it, decided that, we're not doing this anymore.
Yeah, it's wild. It's a great way to burn money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if you have extra too, throw away and do it.
Throw away, exactly. If you want to start a software fire, be my guest. But
I don't have extra.
No. No. So anyways, this came out of that need. I really like Zendesk Sell. I'm really design driven. I like things that are simple. I like things that make sense to me and I can transfer to other people. And so when I found Zendesk, I guess it was called Sell at the time.
Anyways, still is Sell.
It transferred to Zendesk Sell, but it used to just it had a different name.
Oh, okay.
And so we've always used that primarily because it hasn't been bad. But there's great options out there too. Like I know, Michael, you use, I want to say PipeDrive.
PipeDrive. Yep. Yeah, we use PipeDrive CRM.
PipeDrive is awesome. I've seen it work too. I've seen a lot of options work. So the flow here, Mark, to get to your question, sorry, we're rambling.
Oh, no, we're good.
We're good. Is this formative?
This is great. This is great. Yeah.
Okay. So we take our lead form off our website. So it's Gravity Forms. Mm-hmm. Those directly zap into Zendesk Sell and into PaintScout. So PaintScout gets a estimate created. Zendesk Sell gets a customer. Our admin team, we'll also get calls. We'll get lots of other kind of leads coming in. They're taking all of those in Zendesk Sell. They're moving them into the calendars. So they're making the calls, scheduling them. Each of our sales reps sees their calendar in there and can manage the customer from there. When they come to the point of sale, they're going and using PaintScout for the estimate, the work order, and the we call it PaintScout presentation or proposal. And so that's kind of the trifecta of internal pricing, work order for the crew to make sure you're getting to the destination and making profit, and an amazing document that goes to your customer that positions yourself well. And that goes back to my initial problem, which is that creating those 3 documents took me a long time. Our goal was to make that into 5 minutes. And when you use Zaps properly throughout that process, now there is a direct integration. I think there is with Zendesk Sell and Pipeline Deals. Is there one with PipeDrive or is that still Zapier?
I think it's still Zapier.
Still Zapier. So once we get a critical mass, it'll become a direct integration. But Zendesk Sell automatically communicates back and forth with PaintScout. So when there's an acceptance of a bid, automatically tells Zendesk Sell, hey, this is now a customer, and tags them appropriately with the job type. Does that help, Mark, give you an idea?
Yeah. That's really great. As far as if I could ask, say you use a calendar system for your sales guys and they see their schedule. What's that look like? Is that directly through Zendesk or is that also another program?
That's directly through Zendesk.
Directly through Zendesk.
Yep. And do you do that through PipeDrive, Michael?
I would say no. We use Calendly, so customers have the ability to schedule their own estimates, like on the website. So we use Calendly to make the calendar available, and otherwise like Google Calendars. So,
Michael, how has that been for you, having availability for customers to schedule their own estimate? Have there been fake estimates scheduled, or what's your process? I'm guessing if someone schedules, someone from your team confirms that immediately to make sure that it's actually a real appointment?
Yeah, for sure. And that's definitely like we've been doing it. We've had the ability for customers to schedule on our website for years. So in different iterations, we used to use You Can Book Me, and Calendly allows for routing forms. So we can show different availability based on the customer zip code. So we can try to like get our sales reps to be clustered in parts of town at like part of the day. So whatever, Thursday afternoons, they're on the north side of the town, and Friday mornings they're on the south side of the town, or whatever. So Calendly allows for that. But then, yes, to your point, either the sales rep or an office admin is certainly going to want to talk to that person before to, make sure that it makes sense, make sure that somebody's going to be home, that they understand what the expectations are, and things like that.
Okay. Interesting. Yep. That's really cool.
Yeah. My thought behind it is that like most experiences in our industry is like you call somebody, you leave a voicemail because nobody has anybody available to answer the phone because it's a small, maybe you're calling, the business owner's cell phone or something and they're busy, maybe painting or whatever. And so you leave them a message and hope that somebody, gets back to you in the next few days. Right. And that's right. Unfortunate, but that happens too often. Or you go on the website, you fill out a form, and again, you wait for a few days wondering if anyone's ever going to respond. And in that meantime, like you have not solved your problem of I need to get an estimate. And so my goal is to have a homeowner who's potentially interested, like kind of stop their search, feel like I've at least checked the box of get an estimate with this scheduled appointment. So if they need to get, their goal is, hey, I want to get 3 appointments. They go on my website. That's 1. I've got that. As opposed to if they fill out the form, they don't have that yet because they don't know that I'm ever going to get back to them. And so they're not going to go reach out to, 10 of my competitors or whatever. And so anyways, that's the psychology behind why we do it. Puts a little bit more work on our end. But that's one of those things that I feel like, I don't know, kind of strongly about.
Yeah. Do you know your, sorry, John, do you know your percentage of customers that whether, from all, say, website submissions, how many percent of that comes from directly Calendly estimate scheduled right away from a customer versus just submissions that come into your email?
I know. So most of our stuff still comes through the phone, which is interesting. And we have I think pretty high volume. Again, there's bigger companies, whatever, but we do a lot of volume in terms of leads. And so still more than the majority or more than half of our leads come through phone call, which is kind of fascinating.
Wow. Okay.
And yeah, I was surprised to continue to see that go in that direction.
So when that comes through, Michael, you're putting it into PipeDrive, someone in the office, and then you're also scheduling that in Calendly, and then does it create an estimate in PaintScout? Is that how it works?
Actually, we don't immediately create the estimate in PaintScout, so it's basically going to hang out in PipeDrive. So to your point, it's going to, whether it starts in Calendly or whatever, it's going to end up in PipeDrive through the automations. And then once we've confirmed the appointment, so based on Mark on your question of doesn't somebody need to call? Every appointment needs to get confirmed by the rep. And once they confirm it, they move it to a different deal stage in PipeDrive. And once it goes to that estimate confirmed stage, that's the trigger for a different automation to send that over to PaintScout. And we also love using Company Cam. So it also sends that data into Company Cam.
Okay.
The thought there again is really just if somebody doesn't end up getting a quote, there's no point in having that, clutter up PaintScout essentially with, customers that we're never going to quote.
Definitely. Okay.
We also use, so in one of my favorite features in PaintScout is the templates. So you can I think I might have been showing you that in Orlando, where if it's whatever you want. So for an exterior, we have a template for painting aluminum siding or a template for painting houses that were built before 1978 because of lead, or houses, after 1978, but that are wood or things like that, right? We have these different things. And then within PipeDrive, we have a project type, custom field drop down. And so if the project type is, let's just say, exterior pre-1978, when the data is sent to PaintScout, it creates a draft quote with that template in it, so that our rep steps on site and is having a conversation with the customer, and they can immediately start putting like notes in or measurements or whatever into the correct template, because we already know like that this is, again, aluminum or pre-1978 or post or whatever. And so we can, again, these systems like talk to each other really well, which is part of the reason that we love using Pipedrive, because it, it has a really good API.
Okay.
Is that helpful? Is this a good conversation, Mark? Is this helpful right now?
Very, very.
Yeah. Ton of questions.
I can have my own list of questions, but we can maybe touch on 3% of them and then go off of other things. And that's, talking with other business owners, that's kind of exactly how it always goes. Like I can have a vision for something, but it goes completely somewhere else, which is cool. So, okay, that's really cool. Integrations. I personally need to do better on, like, I just 4 years into it, I realized, I can create a project in Company Cam through Zapier with Zendesk. And I just last week, 2 weeks ago, was able to do that. I'm embarrassed, but hey, we all start somewhere, right?
Most people are using pen and paper, so.
Right. We're at least ahead of that. But that's really cool, because that gets my mind going already. Like the way I use Zendesk for both right now selling and project management, I can still have filters to where a lead comes in, but only once it's actually scheduled, that, I get a trigger for Company Cam for PaintScout to create the estimate, Michael, just as you were saying, the system that you have going. So definitely I'm able to create something like that. It's just, again, taking some time to figure out, but okay, really cool. What would your recommendation be for a door knocker? Because I'm trying to implement door knocking and teaching that door knocker how to sell on the spot. So he's going to learn how to actually estimate, not just door knock and collect information, and then our staff, calls, tries to schedule. So if they come up to a house and a customer says, "Yeah, let's do a painting quote," because their neighbor is getting a quote from us, what would be my initial thought? Would be, since it's just the estimate of the door knocker, he can manually create a job within PaintScout and do an estimate on the spot, to where he's not going to have access to, say, the Zendesk profile, because each account is not cheap with Zendesk, as John, I think you're aware of that.
Very aware, yeah.
So what would you say to that? If you understand my question, what would either of you say to that? Would that be a bad idea, a good idea, or what do you think?
So Michael's done a lot more door knocking than I ever have, so I'll defer to him in a second.
Better or worse?
For better or for worse, yeah. Maybe a little PTSD there. Yeah, so the PaintScout's created primarily for on-site estimating. That was its number one function. And so if you're on-site with the customer, you can create the bid in real time with them there. If you have the right system, by counting, measuring, and using some logic behind what preparation looks like. So it's really powerful to get a price on the spot. And now, door knocking, Michael, what do you think? How would you use PaintScout?
No, I would do exactly what you're describing. I have no problem with that. What we used to do was more of like a scheduled appointment. So we would, it was not the same person knocking doors. That was the sales rep. I think personally, I feel like it's two different skills, and I would just be worried that so when somebody needs an estimate, if it's like a full house estimate, that takes a while, and it might like really eat up all of the time for door knocking. But that's something that you'll play with, just to kind of look at like where does the math make sense? Yeah. My thought is like, door knocking is best done at certain times of the day. Let's call it the evenings or weekends generally, where, we knock on your door, maybe I can come back tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. and give you that estimate, or somebody else could. And it's going to take 45 minutes. Or I might only have a few hours of, prime, like daylight, and all the things, whatever. Let's say you're going out from 5 to 8 or something, in your weekdays. If I take that time to do an estimate, that might be, I don't know, whatever, 30 doors that I don't get to knock on or something. But anyways, that's a strategy question. I think from like the software perspective, I see no reason why that won't work well. And I would just set up a Zap to any customer data that gets entered into PaintScout in this situation gets sent back to your Zendesk cell, and so that way at least you're tracking that, and then you can send the data of like how much is the price worth or the project worth, and whatever, how many hours or things like that, you can send probably back into Zendesk. We do that with Pipedrive, and I would imagine you could do the same thing.
Okay, cool. That's right, because I could just make a backwards integration. Okay, yeah, because my thought process with this is with a door knocker / estimator is we've done door knocking before, and we would either get information or get something scheduled, but then there would be a lot of lost connection after our team leaves that house, and we can't even do that estimate, for instance, or they don't want it, they change their mind. At least in the market that I'm in, or maybe the tactic that we, the words that we were using, the script, whatever, it all could be different. But I think also depends on the type of people that are around, say here in Seattle versus wherever you guys are at. I know it's a little different, especially like mid.
Yeah, and I'll say this too, though. Like I think that's where like the PaintScout part can come in. I mean, let's just say for the sake of argument, you really want to focus on like exterior projects here. I mean, we can do an exterior painting quote in PaintScout in about 10 minutes. And, like from like start of measurement to showing a customer a beautiful proposal with an accurate price is about 10, maybe 15 minutes, depending on, the experience of the user and how well your templates are set up and stuff like that. And so it's like, it's not that much time, right? And within, and then obviously after 15 minutes, if you've got a customer who's like interested, and so it takes an extra extra 15 or 20 minutes because you're having really good conversations about schedule and, how do I pay you and stuff like that. It's like, it's worth it. I mean, at the end of the day, like you go sell a $10,000 project, it's like, that's okay. Go just hire more people to knock on those doors then. So I can see that strategy making a lot of sense.
The other thing, I'll add something too, Mark. With our team, when we're doing on-site stuff like that, sometimes we put a dollar value limit to the job. So when we have someone who's door knocking, they could sell up to say $2,000 job. And this happens when our crews are in an area and they want to let the neighbors know. And so they have a job, they're going to put some door hangers around and then knock and say, hey, just to let you know we're in the area. Someone says, oh, I have a job. Those people have access to PaintScout and they can get a bid together. But oftentimes those people aren't professional sales reps. Like they haven't gone through all the experience you need to bid out a $10,000 job,
right? Error free,
or as like close to error free as possible. So we do limit that a little bit.
Makes sense.
But the PaintScout element, 100%, you can do it on your phone. I mean, I do estimates on my phone. Well, I don't really do estimates anymore, but if I do them on my phone. And that would be, it's just helpful to have that as an account. You just open it up, pop some numbers in. You're having a discussion about price, even if it's price banding or whatever. So yeah. Anyways, does that help there?
Yeah. That's
cool.
Great.
Cool.
That's great. And within, say, within PaintScout, I know my mind really goes quickly. Oh, hey, I'm talking with two other business owners. I have all these questions, right? I'm having to hard to remind myself of like why we're having this conversation here, and I want to be respectful to the purpose of this conversation.
Yeah, thanks.
Is say you do an estimate you send out an estimate through PaintScout. What's the customer profile look like? Is there a customer profile to where, say, if I want to check in on my estimator 1, 2, or 3, what are they doing? What do their leads look like? Did they leave any notes if a customer texted something? Because I know I do that currently through Zendesk, but I wonder can that be done through PaintScout, or is that just off the table? That's not an option of like customer lead management through that.
So everything you're describing is 100% in PaintScout. It maintains a track record of literally everything that's occurred. So you can see what's going on, as well as, dig into what email was sent, what the proposal looked like at the time of the email. So if something changes, you can go back and say, "Oh, customer, this was what it looked like originally." Mm-hmm. You can see every view time from a customer. You can see any message they send through. You have a whole track record of the whole thing, and that has been super powerful as a management tool, as well as being able to go back and know just what happened should an error occur. Mm-hmm. So that's all within PaintScout. Michael, have you?
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. I think the one caveat to everything you just said is that PaintScout tracks all of the communication that happens within PaintScout.
Correct.
So if you're emailing out of PaintScout, or if you're messaging within, using the PaintScout messaging feature, where it, maybe different, like a full CRM, right? Like a Pipedrive or perhaps Zendesk I've not used, is going to be able to connect to maybe your voice over IP system, where you can now, see recorded phone calls perhaps, or, text messages that are sent, from phones as opposed to just from within that system. Or it can, you can see the emails that were sent out of the Gmail account that's linked to, the CRM or whatever.
Yeah, right.
So I think it just depends on what you want to accomplish, and the level of granularity. But I think it's absolutely serves a really good purpose, especially when we think of it for us, it's that's where our sales reps probably spend their time. But our, scheduling coordinator, when she has communication with a customer as far as when we're going to be out to paint their house or whatever, those types of communications are really just done within, for us, Pipedrive, within that CRM.
Right, which is to be expected.
But specifically to this quote, the questions you had on this quote, and they sent us the message through the kind of quote portal, if you will, that you can definitely see in there. That's helpful.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay. Because my reason why I ask is I would plan for my estimators to not have to go into PaintScout and then into Zendesk to do follow-up, to kind of know, oh, hey, which customers did I do estimates with, or anything like that. They just use PaintScout. I would want them to just use PaintScout and do all their follow-up within PaintScout. If it's set up for that kind of usage, that ties into that one question.
Yeah. So the answer, you can do auto follow-ups if you want, or you can use the chat function to send through a message that it comes in as an email. And if they respond to that email, it comes back to the chat function. So you can do both of those. There's definitely power to that. On our sales team, they're using email and text as well. And so they're updating notes about the customer, about that estimate itself in the notes section.
In the notes section of that customer profile. Correct. Within PaintScout.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah.
And what's nice is that when that actually occurs, there's an activity section on the dashboard where it shows so-and-so left a note. And so you can see all the things they're doing.
Perfect. Okay. I don't need to kind of repeat that question anymore. I think that answers it. That's it. I'm a big note taker. I have millions of notes on my phone. My jobs in progress even have so many notes of anything that happens on a job. My project manager knows if a customer's upset because painter did X, Y, and Z, I want everyone in my company that's, overriding kind of more operations of the company to be able to be aware or find that note in case a customer calls and starts complaining about something. That's my big thing, is just clear communication with the customer, but also throughout my company. So something happens, my project manager gets sick and ends up in the hospital in the middle of the night, I know what's going on each project.
Absolutely.
So happy we could do that through PaintScout, because
we are aligned.
Because I plan to not have my sales guys have to use Zendesk. Okay, what are their questions specifically to PaintScout? My mind is going way out of PaintScout now, so we might have to schedule another call sometime very soon, right after this. Just immediately hop on a FaceTime call.
Business all weekend.
I'll literally
all weekend. Let's chat all weekend.
Cancel plans with my wife. Let's just talk business.
I like it when we do that.
Yeah.
Hey, it ends up more money in our pockets though at the same time, right?
It's true. That's the goal.
Okay, then I guess this question doesn't doesn't relate, but let me just ask this, John,
Yeah.
to you, and or also Michael. You schedule an estimate with a customer, right? Lead goes into your main CRM. You schedule it from there, and then it gets populated once it's scheduled into PaintScout. Now, when the estimate is scheduled, do you have like a automated text or email follow-up for a customer? Not follow-up, but reminder to a customer, hey, your estimate is scheduled with so-and-so person. Maybe give a bio of the person. Do you do anything like that? Or kind of what's your guys' process with that? I don't have that. I only have a little bit of an email reminder, but I kind of want to make it a little bit more in their face of reminder. Hey, we're coming out. This is what's coming out.
Yeah. I mean, the answer is no. This does not do that. It's a fantastic idea and one that I've considered many times of how that works. Because just like you said, I believe our sales team needs to live in this program. And this program needs to be the hub and the truth of their world for sales. And so we need to do things like that. It's not only a reminder for the customer, but also a reminder for the rep sometimes. Okay, this is coming up. This is what's happening. And so those have been big thoughts for me over the years of how to tackle that. But currently, that's not what this does.
And I'll just jump in. So yeah, PaintScout, not yet, whatever kind of an answer. So we do this as a company though. So in my painting company, we do this. Calendly has this functionality. So if, by scheduling all of our appointments through Calendly, whether they come through the office or people self-select or self-schedule, that you can set up all sorts of text message reminders or email reminders. We also have some in Pipedrive. We've created some nice custom automations so that it can look up who is the sales rep, and then it can send a specific email to say, whatever, this is, meet Mark. Mark's going to be your sales rep. Here's a picture of Mark. Here's a little bio, what part of town Mark's from and some of his hobbies and blah, blah, blah. So that, when Mark shows up at your house, you feel like, you already know him, and maybe there's some commonality there. As well as then, there's I think a 3 email sequence that's happening in addition to some of just the very basic text message kind of calendar notifications. And those emails are going to be around meet your rep. We do one where it's just sharing some of our Google review highlights, and then another one that just kind of highlights some of the different service types that we do. You might have scheduled us for an exterior, not realizing that we do a lot of cabinet refinishing work as well. Just kind of reminding you about that or whatever. So
that's really cool, Michael. That's awesome.
Yeah, and Michael, I love the fact that you guys, the way you handle follow-ups and the way you handle intros, that it's not hard selling. It's actually value driven. And I think people get that wrong, where they think follow-ups or follow-up or intro is everything's about getting the job, but really it's about finding alignment in a nice, comfortable way. So I like that a lot.
Yeah. So that's a good point too. So we have that. That's the pre-estimate kind of sequence, and then to John's point, follow-up, we also have a post-estimate sequence where it is very like value forward. So we'll have like, here's some, tips on selecting colors for a project, and it is, colors of the year and just stuff like that. And you get it like whatever, I don't remember exactly, but like 2 days after the quote is marked as sent in PaintScout is like the automation trigger. And at no point are we saying like, can we have your money, book with us? Because I don't want to like step on the toes of the sales rep who might be having like really great phone conversations or text message conversations with a client or potential client at this point. And, maybe they talked to them like an hour ago, and then all of a sudden this email shows up, and an hour ago, the customer was like, yeah, we're probably going to book with you guys, but like, we just need another day to think about it or whatever. And then they get this like email that's like overly aggressive and could turn them all off. And so I've always been so worried that like, these automation fails. And so we generally just try to see it as like these like soft little, like stay top of mind, nudge, provide a little value type of a thing.
I love that, because I have the same concern with implementing too much automation follow-up to where if it's, a commercial client that needs that we know already is, we don't need to follow up with them because we just need to do this one estimate. We had a good conversation and we got to wait 3 weeks until we just get an answer, and that's it. Right. Or any other customers, my sales guy has some good rapport, but then getting all these emails, hey, just don't forget about us, this and that. And it's like, well, wait, I just talked to you 30 minutes ago. Why am I getting this email? Yep. So it's like, I do have not a fear, but I always have a thought of like, that could potentially negatively hit you with some customers for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Mark, we probably have time for 2 more questions here. Love this though, man. And then we'll schedule our full weekend retreat starting on Saturday morning.
There we go.
Right, send me your address. I'll book a flight on there.
Oh no, we're just doing it here. So get comfortable. Live, 48 hours. Just
all right. I'll sit on the couch right back here. Okay, work orders. Mm-hmm. So PaintScout creates work orders, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Now, after a job is signed, right? Customer approves. That job goes, that signed estimate, that job goes into my Zendesk, into my pipeline of projects. Am I able to, after the fact that it's signed, go have my admin person go back into PaintScout and adjust the work order with like more notes, remove some things, and just whatever, like post signed, are we able to adjust it as much as we want?
I did that just today.
Great. Perfect. That's all you need to say.
That's all you need to know. So the work order functions a little bit differently, but the one thing that does occur is we lock down the estimate.
Okay, great.
You can go back in, but you have to agree that this is a new estimate, because once you get that signature, we don't want to be messing with the customer's signature. And so the work order functions a little separately. That then should get kicked out into an invoice, and you should add additional work on the invoice. That's the theory behind it. Is we want to take that accepted job, everything new or anything changed has got to be approved by the customer. And that just covers your ass at the end of the day. And that's a free gift from us to you.
Of course. Well, yeah. And why I say work orders, because we work with subs, right? Yeah. And so with subs, they don't look at how much we charge for the job. Our payouts are set up at a certain percentage or percentage range, depending on the job and what we're able to quote. And okay, great. Now, as far as change orders, on a scale of 1 to 10, how easy is it to send a change order to a customer?
Which one's easy? 10 or 1?
10 is easy.
10.
10. Okay, great.
9.9. Yeah, that's about as easy as it could be.
Awesome. And then I guess I'm just going to throw some just bam questions.
Go for it.
If a customer...
I will say this, Mark, real quick. Yeah. A lot of our change orders are sent by our office admin, because they're like often sitting at the desk where like a sales rep might be running around and things like that. So if a crew's out on site and they need something hey, customer wants to add this, customer wants to change something, whatever it is, it's easy enough that our office admin can jump in, create that, change, whatever, add it as additional work, send an email right back to the customer. Customer can sign off on it, and 15 minutes later, crew's right rocking it out.
Now, if your office admin does that, Michael, who gets the commission on that revenue of the change order?
So the way that we do it is the crew, for adding work, the crew leader gets a commission and the original sales rep does. So nobody's fighting over credit.
Okay.
We do a banded spiff, it's called. So based on the project value, the person on site gets so much and then the sales rep gets so much.
Okay. Interesting. And then when you send out quotes to customers through PaintScout, do you get notified when they view them or how often they open it? Do you ever get like notifications that this person is viewing this estimate right now or something?
So the most used page on PaintScout is the dashboard, and it's specifically the activity section. So when we look at hits to the app, the activity shows you who viewed an estimate, whether they accepted, whether a deposit was paid. Not only that, but how long they looked at it for. And it becomes like it's like a really addictive drug for a sales rep.
Yes.
Because you're now looking, like people are hitting this thing at all hours of the day.
Yeah.
Like they wake up in the middle of the night. Did so-and-so accept? Oh, did they view it? Oh my goodness, great. This is crazy. And so it's like that element was super important for me to nail, because we deliver so much free value and now we got to get value back. So does I hope that, I mean, I'm pumped with that section. So yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. I love that.
You can see when somebody downloaded it too. I mean, there's all sorts of different activity types, which is nice.
You can also see if they forward it to a different email and a different email viewed it. So you see it by email. So it like kind of tracks a little bit of that too.
Are you able to see who they sent that email to?
Mm-hmm.
Email address.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Then I'll know if my customers are sharing my quote with other competitors.
Yeah, it's always a fun one to see.
Oh, that's awesome. That
and
makes
that's
me
also
excited.
a good time to call them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it looks like you might be looking at the quote. No, I'm just teasing. But you might be, hey, just happen to be in the neighborhood following up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's exactly why I ask is like to be able to see which customers are looking at it when, to try to like catch them by sending them a text or give them a call. Oh, coincidence. I was just looking at your quote. Thank you for calling me. So it's like, I want to catch, face. I know, right? I want to catch customers in those moments. So very cool.
Yeah.
Definitely sign me up. Now, as far as onboarding,
Great. Yeah.
I know you guys offer, helping set things up. I don't know how long it takes you guys to help onboard. I know for additional fee, you can do things for me, basically. I want to implement it before, definitely before end of next week, to where I want to have, my bio, some picture. By the way, I love your guys' presentation. Like the way you can have a presentation, you have like a whole menu of this is who we are, this is what to expect. Like I freaking love that. So good job on that.
Crazy stat too is that like once you start implementing stuff like that, you get an instant boost in your win rate, and it's small, but it's significant over a large volume of estimates. So anyways,
more than enough to pay for it. Let's just
absolutely.
Put it that way.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's crazy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Now, like within that, I know you didn't even get a chance to really answer my question, and I'm already asking another question. That's how my mind is. I apologize, guys.
That is why you're joining us today, is because that's how your mind works, and we love it.
Entrepreneur.
Out of your guys' experience, right, and all the data that you have seen, lining up those whatever you want to call them, those tabs. What do you guys like to put first, second, and third? Do you like to put your quote in first, or your story, or just some project pictures first, and then price third?
You're asking the right questions, Mark. Oh my goodness.
You can invite me more often.
Okay, let me answer quickly your setup question, because the setup for me, if I put on my business owner hat, it's the best money you can spend, because it gets you up and going. Your presentations get designed. You are set up. And for me, time is sometimes more important always more important than money. And so I am 100% doing that. Now I know there's a barrier for some people for that cost, but the team puts in so much effort on that end. And so we talk all the time about how little we charge for that thing. So yeah.
You're talking about, John, just to be clear, you're talking about paying PaintScout to do basically the setup for you.
Correct. Yeah. So it's that success package.
Yeah. We did that as a company. I did that, and I'm pretty tech savvy. I mean, I've set up all these automations myself, and I could definitely go in and do this, but it's a lot of work. Like it takes a lot of time setting up production rates, setting up all these templates, setting up the presentations like we're talking about now. And I'd much rather just have somebody go in and do like the 85-90% of it, and then I'll just come in and put on the final like 10-15% touches. It's a game changer. Yeah, it's like John said. If you value your time at all, it is money well spent.
Yeah. And John, to piggyback one more, and then you could get to my question about the presentation, the order. Say I have my own estimate template with like, say, my verbiage. Is that something I would be able to send over to you guys, and your team would look at it and kind of figure out where to place what things?
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
They do all that stuff. So contracts, production rates, like your system of bidding, they'll take your logo and take your images and build something nice for you, where you're now giving feedback and editing versus creating. So that's what we want to be doing.
Cool. Very cool.
So then your question about how it's actually set out. Michael and I actually have different opinions on this, I think. I know we've talked about it before. It's been a while. But I bury the estimate a little bit. I don't give it to them straight up. You have to learn how to use the navigation in order to get there. Because we don't want someone seeing price and then forgetting about our value. But Michael, I think you would give a different opinion.
Yeah, so for us, the first page is the quote. So that's where we currently are. I don't know that I feel like super strong that it has to be that way. I can see both sides. I definitely see your points, John. I think the argument that would be made for putting the quote first is like, that is what somebody's looking for. And so, in my mind, it's like, I'm not really paying attention much to the other stuff until I find that. It's kind of like, if I'm considering software like PaintScout, the first page I usually go to is the pricing page. And I'm just like, all right, how much does this cost? Is it $5,000 a month? Is it, $500 a month? Or is it $50 a month? And, whatever that might be. And then I'm like, okay, I've checked that box. And now, like, exactly what is it? What am I getting? Like, and that's where I'm going to go and say, like, on the software, I'm like looking for a recorded demo or whatever it might be to try to learn more about it. And so, like, that's how my mind works. And so I guess I maybe rightfully or wrongfully assume that that's maybe how other people are thinking about it. And so that's the thought behind, why ours are set up that way.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense.
All right, Mark, I'm getting the like, what do they call it when they yank the people off the stage thing? So maybe wrap it up with one more question, and then we'll sign off here.
I could just leave it at that, honestly.
All right, let's leave it at that.
I'm going to ask a question for you, Mark.
Yeah.
So, John, within your painting company, what would you say is the favorite, maybe even like ninja secret, hidden, maybe not so popularly known thing within PaintScout? Power user secret.
So there's two. Yeah, great question, and it's one that we use in order for our price discussion with our customers, and that's that when I originally designed it, I had a hard time having price discussions with customers around areas because it didn't allow me to get to the root of what they really wanted. And so within PaintScout, there's two separate views. There's an area view, but there's also a surface view. And so you can kind of move back and forth between these two views. And you can say to a customer like, hey, I know I'm a little bit higher priced, but what if we don't do the ceilings? The ceilings are this much. And that is so powerful in the price discussion with the customer, because now we're cost engineering and we're working with their schedule, their perception of what matches together. Instead of saying, hey, this price is nice, but we could take out the bathroom and we're doing the wall ceiling trim in the bathroom. They're like, yeah, but we wanted all the walls done. And so that's an interesting difference between the way that we look at paint pricing and customers view their project. So that's really one. The second is the ability to package and offer options. So a lot of people don't group enough. Customers get a little bit overwhelmed sometimes by the amount of information coming their way. If we price individually, they're going to be like, oh, the bathroom there, that's $300 to paint a bathroom. And they get focused on these individual numbers. I don't know if that's ever happened to you guys, but I want to have a number, and we're talking about a number. And so there's a grouping function in PaintScout that lets you put all those areas together or group surfaces together and present it so it's one package price. Cool. And then you can also replicate that package, change some variables, and move that to an option. And so now they have an initial price, but you've also given them a grouping of that same project, but you've changed paint, and that's changed the pricing here. And so those two things have been just amazing for us in terms of having good, authentic conversations with customers, which is what the whole purpose of this I believe is behind sales and being successful at sales.
That's great.
Does that help, Michael?
Well, that was actually a question I thought to ask, but I forgot about it. What you just talked about is grouping, is like more grouping the estimate, not having every line item show, every price, because I do not want to do that.
Yeah.
I never like doing that.
Did I blow your mind there, Michael?
No, we do. If you asked me, I was going to tell you grouping. Grouping is one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say that we don't use the area substrate view toggle often enough. Just in our sales conversation, I guess it's just like a flow probably.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, we do. I'm a big fan of grouping. I would say the templates part is something that people might not utilize enough.
Templates are amazing. I would say that too. Yeah, that's phenomenal. We were looking at someone's estimate process, and I think I can take it down to about 4 seconds, based on the way they do it. for a house. Like having a proposal and a price and everything and a work order in 4 seconds. Like that's amazing. Just the way they do things. So, yeah.
That's really cool. That's really cool. Okay. Got time for one more question?
Last question, Mark.
Okay. Last one. And it's to the both of you. And you could answer yes or no quickly or a percentage. PaintScout is great for in-person presentations. What percentage of your estimates do you actually present in person and you try to have them sign in person on the spot?
95%.
Yeah. Huh? Pretty much every one.
Wow. What's your guys' close ratio?
Win rate you're asking?
Yeah.
You're not saying on the spot, just in general.
Sure. Let's do general.
Yeah. For me personally, it's like just over 50. Our company's like 45.
Yeah. Ours,
yours higher.
My win rate over the last 2 years was 100, only because I bid 3 jobs and then I opted out.
Jon went and did 3 estimates. He sold them all and then retired.
Right. But he sold 5. He sold 5. How about that?
Yeah. Those were large value jobs that I had to put a lot of effort into. So over the years.
Mark's going to say no to you today. And so now your average is 75%.
Yeah, that's not how I roll. So, Mark, you got to sign off today so I can keep that 100% going.
Yeah, or he's going to be a classic sales rep and just pretend he never had this estimate.
Ouch.
Don't put it in the system. Exactly. Don't put that one in.
Just delete this whole conversation.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah, the power here, Mark, and we see this all the time, is that getting a price on the spot and having a real actual conversation about price just unlocks everything about the sales process for you and your customer. And if you can do that in a spot where they can't hide or they're present, like versus trying to chase people down, you are going to see your win rate explode. That's the track record.
And at least that like closure, like you're going to get better answers. Yeah. Even if it's a no, like you just have lower like follow-up time and ghosting and all that.
Incredible. Thank you guys.
Yeah. However somebody's getting there, again, whether it's paper and pen, a different software or whatever, I think like we should all be striving towards giving the price when we're at the house. It doesn't always happen. There's variables, there's complications, things that we got to look up. And that's why I think it's not always going to be 100% is not possible, but whatever it is, I think that's like, and it's not just the painting industry. It's like anything home improvement related, like that's best practice for sure.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome.
Okay, guys, I got to wrap it up. But Mark, I love the questions. Thank you so much for being a part of this, and hopefully that was helpful. And hopefully we'll see you make a decision on something here by the next hour, and then we'll close it off. So, anyways, it's a pleasure having you, man. And I look forward to having another discussion too. I mean, we can always talk. Yeah. Michael and I talk every week about pricing, selling, and producing paint jobs, and we love having people like yourself on who are deep thinkers about the industry and who actually care. And I can feel that in your question. So thank you.
I think it'd be fun, especially Mark, if you end up going the PaintScout route to like do a follow-up in maybe 3-6 months and just see like, what are some of the things that you've noticed? And perhaps like at that point we could talk some more about like some of these like ninja tricks, if you will, that we talked about here at the end. And, once you've started to use it, some of these things might sink in even better. We can even like open up PaintScout, accounts here on, shared screen or whatever. Yeah. Talk about how you have it set up or whatever.
Sweet. Absolutely. I'd be looking forward to that.
Well, thanks, Mark.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
We'll let you go and have yourself a wonderful day.
This podcast is proudly powered by PaintScout, your partner in painting success.